All right, in this video, I am gonna give you some email marketing juice. This is responsible for 70 to 80% of our revenue in our business. Email marketing is so powerful when you have a list, and we communicate daily to lists of hundreds of thousands of people, no exaggeration. And I have sent over 3,000 emails, individual emails I've written over the last 3 years, 3,000 subject lines. And so I know a little bit about email marketing. I know what works, what doesn't, for our audience. And then I've also discovered some general principles of email marketing, which I think you will find very useful. It'll just put you into hyperspeed when it comes to email marketing. I sort of want to start off with a quote about email marketing and just copy in general. And it's from Eugene Schwartz in his book, Breakthrough Advertising. And he says, the power, the force, the overwhelming urge to own that makes advertising work comes from the market itself and not from the copy. And why am I opening with that quote? Because I think a lot of people, whenever they're writing, they assume that they're trying to sell their product in a way that creates desire in the customer, whether it's a product or service, and they're trying to sell it in a way that creates this desire. It's like, oh, you want this thing. And really that quote sort of flips it on its head. And he says earlier in another place in the book, he says that desire for a product or service is not created. It is channeled into your product from the market. And when you think about it, there's only like a very few number. I wouldn't say that's totally true in all cases. Like there are very few products that have ever been invented that I think actually created desire in people for this product. And those products are probably like the iPhone, the light bulb, the Model T Ford when it first came out. Because originally, there's that famous quote, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And so people didn't know that they wanted a car whenever Henry Ford created the Model T, right? And so that's something those are just specific examples of creating desire in a person for a product. But that is so rare and so few and far between that for the most part, you are channeling desire that already exists into your product or service. And trust me, once you start thinking this way, it's going to make your life a lot easier whenever you're actually writing your copy or writing your emails. So there are some general rules about emails that I'm going to go over that has been super successful for me. I'm not going to give you guys any extra fluff on this video. I'm just going to give you some like core strategies in this video that you can apply immediately to your business. And so I'm going to just hop into it. The first example that I want to give you or the first pro tip I would say is always write to a person. I can't tell you how many emails I've received from brands or people or companies, and they're writing to a faceless group of people that they obviously just wrote to their entire list, and they said, hey guys, guess what? We have this new thing. Here it is. We want all of you to participate in blah, blah, blah. And you go, this person is so disconnected from reality that they're not even talking to me. Think about it. When you get an email, are you reading it with like a study group of people? No, you open your email and you are the one reading your email. So you need to address a person. Hey, first name. I wanted to show you this. I saw your profile and I thought you would be a great fit for this product. Let me know if you have any questions, whatever. There was a great example from Dan Lok, who's a really great copywriter. And he said, imagine you're in a busy subway and it's crowded, it's loud, and you see your friend, a few meters away, but there's people, it's loud. What would you do if you were trying to get his or her attention? Would you say, hey, guy in the blue shirt with the brown shoes who's about 5'10" with black hair? No. You would say, hey, John. Hey, Roger. Or you would say their name. That's like basic things that people overlook in emails. Use the person's first name. You're collecting their first name data on an opt-in form. Use their first name in the email. Simple things, right? That people forget. And it's super important to write to a person. When you're writing your email, literally think about the person you are writing this to, who may be a part of a specific demographic, or it may be, what is your ideal customer you're writing to, but it's always one person. It's not a group. It's not anything other than that. Always write in first person. Trust me, you will see much more engagement on your emails if you write to a person. Keep a person in mind. One person. One. Okay, next thing. In my experience, and I understand this is different in practice, and you may see some different things, but in my experience, shorter is always better. I've seen so many emails, especially from marketing gurus that I'm on their email list, and they're breaking every single rule of email marketing. I mean, it's literally like, I'll get an email from some guy in Australia, and it's a wall of text with a hyperlink at the very bottom. And I have to open the email, scroll until I finally get to the bottom and I see what he has hyperlinked there. And oftentimes the email is so long I don't even read it. There's no point. Why? I don't have that kind of time. Like, I'm a busy person. You're writing to, and especially if you're working with if you're a B2B business, like, you don't want these long walls of text. So my point on all that is you need to remove any extra fluff. And there's a few points I want to make on this. You need to remove any extra fluff in your emails. Like, you only want to say what is necessary to achieve a communication of an idea, and you don't want to say any more than that. This is so important. You need to look at your emails, go line by line and go, cool, if I completely deleted this line, would the communication of the email basically be the same? If it is, then you need to just remove it. Like, remove any extra fluff. Like, you don't want to waste your client's time, right? And if you can remove stuff without having to add a bunch, if you can remove stuff and keep the communication the same, you need to remove it. And this is something that it's kind of an art form, and it takes a lot of drafting and rewriting and a lot of practice, frankly. This is something that is practiced and you will get better at, but seriously, only say what is necessary to achieve a communication and nothing more. Once you get the communication across, like, you can write great prose, but be direct whenever you're writing your emails. Don't waste the person's time. The average person spends less than, and I'm gonna give you some data here. The average person spends less than 20 seconds on an email. If it takes longer for the person than 20 seconds to read your email, they probably won't read it at all. If they look at it and they go, oh, this is gonna take me a few minutes, they're just not gonna confront it. So keep that in mind. These are some metrics you need to know. Average person spends less than 20 seconds reading an email. So if it's longer than that, you need to think about shortening your message or trying to squeeze that message into 20 seconds somehow. This takes creativity, and it takes a lot of, again, I've written a lot of emails, and I've figured out ways. Is probably why I figured out all of this stuff. But like, I can always tell when I receive an email from somebody, from a marketing guru or whatever, I can always tell when they're it's just a lot of verbal masturbation a lot of the times, and it doesn't really achieve anything. So that's another thing on the point of the long walls of text on the emails. Like I got this email from this guy the other day where I opened the email, wall of text, I had to scroll, and then I got to the hyperlink call to action at the very bottom. You need to put the call to action at the top, somehow, some way. Above the fold, on the phone. They need to open the email and there needs to be text there, but there has to be some type of call to action above the fold. Always, 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 or else you will see your click-through rate drop dramatically. Because most people, if they go, oh my gosh, I have to scroll all the way, I am not going to read this, they just won't even read it, and they won't confront it, and they won't even click through because they don't care. Because they look at it and they go, this is a waste of time. So that's another little pro tip there. Another thing is, I know ChatGPT and all these AI writing softwares are the rage right now, and look, I use them, but I only use ChatGPT and things like that for ideation. I use it to give me good ideas for what to write about and maybe a general structure, but I never use it for the full email. There's just a visceral, your writing needs to contain more than features and facts about your product or service if that's what you're selling in your email. It needs to contain more than that. It needs to contain more than logic and facts and features. You need to have human emotion. Okay, you need to elicit emotion and images in the person's mind, right? And I see too many, I see a lot of people with emails and with just copy on web pages. I can see it and I can just immediately tell, oh, this was ChatGPT, because there's just there is an element of this visceral emotion that is missing. And trust me, you do not want to go down that road. You want to have this human touch to your emails. Always, 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 especially if you are a brand. If your brand is situated around a person, please don't use ChatGPT and other AI writing softwares. There's just some things that machines cannot mimic, and it's things like humor and understanding the nuances of human emotion and how to create pictures in other people's minds of things that they desire. So, just wanted to touch on that point there. There's another thing, just as an ethical point, is you must create scarcity and urgency in your emails if you want to see your conversions go up or your click-throughs go up, But you always want to tell acceptable truths, and you don't want to lie. You don't want to use fake scarcity. You don't want to use fake urgency. And I'll give you an example of what I mean of an acceptable truth. So if you were sending an email where you were saying, hey, we're accepting applications today for this group, and after today, we're closing it down. If the only way that they can get that application is via email, and you only sent it that one day, then I would consider that an acceptable truth. Now, if the person gets the email and they open it, let's say, and they apply 2 days later after they received it, well, technically they were only supposed to fill out the application 2 days ago, and we're making an exception for them since they did fill out the application. You can make an exception, but it's up to you. You need to figure out a way that it's an acceptable truth for you. You don't want to lie. You want to be ethical, and it's eventually, if you are lying in your emails, people are smart. They will eventually figure it out if you're being untruthful. So it's important to stay ethical, be truthful, but create games that are truthful, that create scarcity and urgency. So that's just a little ethical point there. Now, as a general rule, this is something that people don't really talk about but you need to keep this foundation here. Otherwise, everything else, like you sort of lose the map a little bit, or you mistake the map for the territory, I'll say. The only purpose of a subject line on an email, the only purpose of a subject line is to get the person to open the email. That's it. It's not to get them to read the email even, because we're not even there yet. The subject line is what they see before they read the email. So how can the purpose of a subject line be to get the person to read the email? That is not the purpose of a subject line. The purpose of a subject line is to get the person to open the email, and that is it. That is it. It is not to sell something. You don't sell on the first date, right? You don't ask to get married on the first date. The purpose of the subject line is to get the person to an interest level where they want to open the email. Once they've opened the email, then your job is not to sell. It's not to sell. That's what a landing page is for. That's what your sales page is for. And I see too many people selling on the email. That's not okay. The purpose of an email is, so you have your subject line whose purpose is to open the email. Once they open the email and they're on the email, you've gotten them an interest level enough to open the email. Once they open it, the only purpose of the email, the content of the email, is to get them to click through to a landing page. You sell on the landing page. You don't sell on the email unless you're taking them straight to a checkout form, which in 99% of the cases is not the case. They're not going straight from an email to a checkout form. They're going straight from an email to a landing page with the product, right? That has more information as to why they should buy it, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to keep that in mind. You don't need to start selling on the email. That's the wrong approach. That's like asking to get married on the first date. On the email itself, you just want to generate enough curiosity and interest and mystery in the person to want to click through and go to the landing page, where you can then sell them on the product. They click on a call to action and they go to the checkout form. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. The only purpose of an email is to get them to click through. Okay? Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the blink test. And this is the last thing I'll cover. There was some other things that I want to cover, but I'm going to cover that in a different video. Blink test. Now this is for people who are using, graphic only emails, or if anytime you're using any type of image in your email. And I've literally tried every combination you can possibly imagine. I've tried graphic only, text only, graphic and text. I've used hyperlink words. I've used button call to actions. I've used GIFs, images, video embeds, all different variations of those things. And I've found that graphic only emails do perform really well in a lot of cases, but it has to be well designed graphics. And this is just an aesthetic point on graphics, and I call it the blink test. If what you're selling in your graphic, if you were to print out the graphic and hold it up to somebody's face for literally a second, or as long as it takes for the person to blink, hold it up and then take it away and ask the person, what did you just see? Well, let's say if you're selling a book, right? If the person that you showed the image to doesn't immediately say, oh, I saw a book, you need to go back and rework your design. It needs to pass the blink test, because that's about as much time as you're gonna get when somebody opens the email to see what you just sent them and get their interest. That's about as much time as it takes for the person who opens the email to decide if they're interested or not, right? So your graphics always have to pass the blink test. Keep that in mind whenever you're designing your graphics. So that is about it for today. I just wanted to go over that. Those are some core strategies and tips you can apply immediately to writing your emails if you are a small business owner, or you're writing emails if your job is email marketing. I hope this serves you, and I will go into depth on another video on something else about marketing. Catch you later.